So,
You can be as brief as you like. It doesn't have to be too extensive.
well, the complement channels are the low channels, the sinew channels, the divergence, and the eight extraordinary channels. And the primary channels are kind of in the middle. So, like the in the yin level, the moderate level, they're in the everyday workings. But then there's all these other levels of our being that get addressed by these other channel systems. And so when we use them all, we have this ability to treat a person on all levels. That's how I kind of see it.
Yeah. And what is it about the primary channels that doesn't actually help us to access the parts of the body when things go perhaps terribly wrong? And when you're only using the primary channels and you're doing that circling around that you described before, what is it that the primary channels are not able to do in acupuncture?
Well, in my opinion, I think the primary TCM, the way that we practice or it's taught today, is rather a modern approach to Chinese medicine, and it needs to be in the context of how they practice it in China. Because in China, you treat the primary channels, but you treat them every day for a period of time. And what that does is it gets the primary channels working so well that they process pathology for you. So, but if like in the Western context where we only see people once a week or once a fortnight, the complement channels allow us to access that pathology directly. Because what happens is the body keeps the pathology out of the primary channel because it wants to keep it away from the organ systems. And if the pathology enters the primary channel, it can get to the organ and cause death. So these complement channels are places and reservoirs where all the pathology gets put to keep it out of there, right? To keep us well. So it's like going straight to the source of where it's being held versus, if I get fit enough, I'll be healthy, like if I just do this, and this, and eventually I'll be able to get rid of that stuff. It takes more, more regular treatment to do that. It doesn't really work in the context of how clinic in Australia works,
That's a really great way of explaining that. And I might just add to that, the body, in its remarkable wisdom, will find ways and places to park things that are problematic, but they build up, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of the time, but it's not the only thing, but our lifestyle choices are creating those problems. What we're eating, what we're not eating, what we're doing with our energy, what we're doing with our stress levels, where our headspace is at. And so the body will just keep building up all of that stuff until there's nowhere to put it, and then it can spill into other places. And we don't ever think about that. We're educated to think about health in really interesting ways in Western society. And often it is, if you just keep overextending yourself physically, doing more workouts, eating less, or stripping yourself of calories, that's how you create a healthy body. But that's been completely flipped from what I've been learning in Chinese medicine, classical Chinese medicine, which also kind of heralds back to wisdom that we've had from generations past. It's simple. Everyone wants a hack. Everyone wants the life hack, but it is actually the simple stuff. Go to bed early, get good sleep, eat well, not too much, not too little, but eat real food and eat well that includes fats. Make sure the body's hydrated. Make sure that there's joy, connection to joy, and don't overdo it. I'm sure there's probably more you could add to that list.
Up here, wear socks and slippers around the house in the wintertime. Wear a scarf. Yeah.
Keep warm.
Keep warm. Yeah.
Keep warm. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what role does the pulse play in this. And what's your relationship to pulse taking? And maybe we'll just segue in from there.
Well, the pulse is it's such a mysterious, amazing thing, you know. It's to me, it's that point of contact with your patient's energy systems. It's that kind of like you kind of make this little opening that opens up, and it's like you get to see inside and see this clear picture of, oh, this is what's here. This is what's really within this person, like where they're at. It's such a privilege, and it's such a personal kind of connection. The things that we can receive from the pulse, people can be quite startled, you know, by that. Yeah. But I kind of see it's almost like an alternate dimension where you kind of enter into this alternate space where your two systems meet, and from that you receive a message of where to go today. You know, how should we help this person today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for people listening that are not sure what we're talking about when a practitioner is feeling the radial artery on the wrist and then, you know, going quiet and probably looking quite intense on their face, and you're laying back going, what information are they gathering from feeling my pulse? Patients are so curious about it. And I suppose the more that you learn in classical Chinese medicine, the more that dimensional space just keeps opening up and up and up, and the more finer detail actually flows to you as the practitioner to give you information about what to do on that day. Is that, would you say that's on the point?
Yeah. It's an ever expansive practice. I don't know if I'll, you know, I don't think it's not something that you'd ever stop learning about, you know, because the complexity of humans is ever ending, and our ability to receive changes, and like there's so many factors, I suppose.
Yeah. In clinic, do you primarily use the pulse as your diagnostic tool? Do you ever make decisions about what to do before you get information from the pulse?
All the time. And then I put it on the shelf and I take the pulse. All the time I'm saying to the person, I think we're going to do this, but let's just take the pulse. And then I go, no, we're not doing that. They're like, all the time. I'm like, yeah, I know. So, you know, I mean, I try to go, oh yeah, there's these ideas I have. They're nice ideas. Let's see what's really going on.
Oh, that's such a powerful thing to say, because so often when someone's in front of us and they're telling us things and we're putting pieces of the puzzle together, we can be in our heads and going, oh, I know what's going on here. This is the problem. We're going to do this and this and this. And you start making a plan. But then when you feel the pulse and you get something entirely different. I know for myself, sometimes I feel the pulse, and even just at the beginning place of where I am with learning this, you know, this aspect of ancient medicine, I'll go, oh, I'm getting a really, really clear chow pulse. Could that be right?
Mm.
And I have moments of being not sure if I trust to go with that. How did you get through that part?
It still happens to me, Karina.
Okay.
Just the other week, I had sometimes, you know, I had a patient come in and they had COVID, and after COVID they'd had antivirals because they're terrified of getting sick, you know. So they had the antivirals and they already had a shoulder injury, and anyway, they came in with excruciating pain in their shoulder post-COVID. And the pulse said dymite. That's like, it didn't tell me sinews, it didn't tell me anything, just dymite. It's like, you've got to be kidding, right? Like, what? But I've learned that you just have to trust. It worked. The pain immediately went away. And I can start to kind of make sense of it, but it still is not something that I would have logically come to on my own. So I think if you can just step into the unknown. It's like that. There's so much of this medicine is that, right? Just stepping into the unknown, stepping into the void and trust, and just go, this is the guide. The pulse is my guide. I'm just going to follow it. And sometimes it's not till the patient comes back and they tell you what's happened, what the change is, and how their pulse has changed again. You go, oh, right, that's why I did that. Yeah, okay. And we don't have to know everything, right? We don't have to understand, really. I mean, it's nice to. It makes us our ego, but we don't probably.
That's so much about this is not understanding, I think, and sort of like what you were saying before with just really knowing that acupuncture was for you, that's where you were going to really land and everything would flourish within that space. I think when I was at school, I just knew that feeling the pulses was extremely important. And when you're at school, what you learn about pulses, it's just a starter. It's really just to whet your appetite because it's incredibly subjective. You might have one teacher feel a pulse in front of you and tell you a quality about it. They might say, that's wiry. And then someone else will feel it and say, no, that's something else. It's really difficult to know what's what and what you're actually feeling. Yeah. And then what I really love about learning pulses in this classical way is that it's very, very clear. Even if you might not feel it yet and know what you're feeling, it's laid out in an incredibly clear way, detailed and rich, and it's going to take time. But for me as a new practitioner, I feel like I'm so heady and so structured. For me, it almost feels like a relief to say to myself, trust the pulse, keep getting familiar with the pulse, keep letting the pulse tell you what's going on, get out of your head. Don't even think about what you think is wrong with this patient. Just let the pulse tell you, learn the channels, and then work with the channel that the pulse tells you to work with. And actually that will be like a holiday.
But I think it comes from this idea that the doctor fixes you. This is what we have in the West, you go to the doctor and they fix you and they give you something and you get better. And that's not what we do, right? We don't fix people. We don't actually do anything except for open ourselves up as a conduit to receive how we can facilitate something for someone else. So the pulse is that gateway, it's that translation system for us to receive a message. And the person is doing all the work themselves. Like, we're just a catalyst, for that change. It's like we can make a suggestion following their spirit, what they want, and then the rest is up to the person. And it's such a hard thing to retrain your patients to receive. It's like they're like, oh, you're so amazing. It's like, no, you're doing the work. You're amazing. Good on you. Well done. You're being open to receive change. If you weren't willing, this wouldn't happen. I'm not doing anything. Your body's doing it.
Secret. That is the secret, the openness to change.
And I think that also takes the pressure off all this heady stuff, because if you see it that way, it's not like you're not going to do something wrong if you're following what you're receiving. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.